Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om
Om
Namo
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskrityam
Narayanam Namaskritam.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Saraswatim Vyasam.
Tato Jayamudirayet
Tato Jayamudire.
Nashtaprayasu Abhadresu
Nashtaprayesu Abhadresu.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Bhagavati Uttama Sloke
Bhagavati Uttama Sloke.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki.
Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki.
Reading from chapter 16, titled The Divine and Demoniac Natures, and the verse number we're discussing today is verse number 20. Asurim yoni apanna
Asurim Yonim Apanna.
Mudha Janmani Janmani
Mudha Janmani Janmani.
Mam Aprapriya Konteya
Mam Prapeva Konteya.
Tato Yanti Adhamam Gatim
Tato Yantim Adhamam Gatim.
Asurim yoni apanna
Asurim Yonim Apanna.
Mudha Janmani Janmani
Mudha Janmani Janmani.
Mam Aprapayav Konteya
Mam Aprapeva Konteya.
Tato Yanti Adhamam Gatim.
Tato Yanti Adhamam Gatim.
Any Prabhujis or Matajis would like to read?
Asurim Yonim Apanna.
Asurim yoni apanna
Mudha Janmani Janmani.
Mudha Janmani Janmani
Mam Aprapeva Konteya.
Mam Aprapayav Konteya
Tato Yanti Adhamam Gatim.
Yato Yanti Adhamam Gatim.
Asurim yonim apanna
Asurim Yonim
Asurim yoni apanna
Mudha janmani janmani
Mudha Janmani Janmani
Mam apravyaiva kaunteya
Mam
Mam
Aprapeva
Aprapayav
Konteya.
Konteya
Tato yanti adhamam gatim.
Tato Yanti
Yato
Adhamam
Yanti
Gatim.
Adhamam Gatim. Thank you. Asurim, demoniac.
Asurim
Asurim
Demoniac.
demoniac.
Yonim, species.
Yonim
Yonim
species.
species.
Apanna, gaining.
Apanna
Apanna
gaining.
gaining.
Mudha, the foolish.
Mudha the
Mudha the
foolish.
foolish.
Janmani, Janmani.
Janmani Janmani.
In birth, after birth.
In birth after birth.
Mam, me.
Mam me.
Mami.
Aprapya, without achieving.
Aprapya without
Without
achieving.
achieving.
Eva, certainly.
Eva certainly.
Eva certainly.
Konteya, O son of Kunti.
Kunteya O son
Kunteya,
of
O
Kunti.
son of Kunti.
Tata, therefore.
Tata thereafter.
Thereafter, sorry. Yanti, go.
Yanti go.
Adhamam, condemned.
Adhamam condemned.
Gatim, destination.
Gatim destination.
Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Attaining repeated birth
Attaining repeated birth
amongst the species of demoniac life,
among the species of demonic life.
O son of Kunti,
O son of Kunti.
such persons
Such persons
can never approach me.
can never approach me.
Gradually they sink down
Gradually they sink down
to the most abominable type of existence.
To the most abominable
abominable
type
type of
existence.
existence.
Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Anyone would like to read this page?
It is known that God is all merciful, but here we find that God is never merciful to the demoniac. It is clearly stated that the demoniac people, life after life, they are put into wombs of similar demons and not achieving the mercy of the Supreme Lord. They go down and down so that at last they achieve bodies like those of cats, dogs, and hogs. It is clearly stated that such demons have practically no chance of receiving the mercy of God at any stage of later life. In the Vedas also it is stated that such persons gradually sink to become dogs and hogs. It may be then argued in this connection that God should not be advertised as all merciful if he is not merciful to such demons.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Anyone else would like to read this page? In answer to this question, in Vedanta Sutra, we find that the Supreme Lord has no hatred for anyone. The placing of the asuras, the demons, in the lowest status of life is simply another feature of his mercy. Sometimes the asuras are killed by the Supreme Lord, but this killing is also good for them. For in Vedic literature, we find that anyone who is killed by the Supreme Lord becomes liberated. There are instances in history of many asuras, Ravana, Kamsa, Hiranyakashipu, to whom the Lord appeared in various incarnations just to kill them. Therefore, God's mercy is shown to the asuras if they are fortunate enough to be killed by them. Let's all chant together. Om Agyana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Yakshurmalitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namo Sri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaham Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Utapatapakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakha Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishavanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpataruvasya Kripa Sindhuvaeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivash Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nilachala Nivasaya Nityaya Paramatmane Balabhadra Subhadrabhyam Jagannathaya Te Namo. Thank you so much for joining this wonderful Sangha. And here Krishna is discussing about the demoniac qualities. And Krishna is spending a lot of time from 6th, 7th verse onwards, all the way till the 20th. He's spending time because this world is filled with demoniac personalities. And even if the personalities are human beings, there are traits of demoniac propensities in these personalities. So that's why Krishna is giving an example. And in this verse, Krishna is saying, Asurim Yoni Apanna. That means this demoniac people, they are born in a situation where they tend to commit mistakes after mistakes after mistakes. So they gain the upper hand of doing mistakes again and again. And next Krishna goes on to say, Mudha Janmani Janmani. That means birth after birth, they do foolish things. They end up doing foolish things. So gaining in propensity of doing these foolish things again and again and again. And then Krishna goes on to say that Mam Aprapya. Prapya means achieving, right? Aprapya means without achieving. So they, by virtue of they doing foolish things again and again and again, life after life after life, they cannot achieve me. They stay aprapya. They cannot achieve me. You want to get a job, so you say you have aprapya, you have achieved it. Aprapya means you have ceased to achieve it. And then he is referring to Krishna, Arjuna as Kaunteya. And then he says, thereafter, tato yanti adhamam gati. That means they stay in abominable state of destination, in a condemned state of destination, again and again and again over a period of life after life after life. So as you can see here, Krishna is giving a very practical aspect. Sometimes when you see a person, you might have seen in your colleges, a person initially he takes to smoking, then he gradually takes to drinking, and then eventually, with bad association, he may get into drugs. And I have seen some very, very bright personalities from very bright schools who have studied, uh, and eventually by virtue of this, one thing leading to another, smoking to drinking to drugs, and by the time of 35, 40, 45, you realize they have their medical condition has succumbed to such a bad situation that they cannot recover. So we have to meditate on this very closely. Krishna is alerting us by saying that whenever a person does something wrong in the class, he is not sent to a hellish condition forever. He's basically sent to a classroom where he's who undertakes some punishment, and then after completing the punishment, he recovers, he realizes, and then comes back and joins the class, like how you might have seen in your classes in your school days. So in in various different faiths, whenever a person is sent to hell, there's no coming back. But in this merciful creation of this wonderful universe, Krishna is saying you can always come back by virtue of doing something nice. But the tendency is the demoniac propensity people never ever achieve him, and that gets them into a mode of egoistic propensity wherein they end up committing the mistake again and again, and they never can approach me, they cannot achieve me. So Krishna is giving a very beautiful example when they are actually uh, describing the demoniac propensities, because once you end up going down and down and down, unless and until you have a rearguard action, unless you associate with somebody who can lift you up, it is very difficult to reverse the inertia. So when you think about how you came to Krishna consciousness, you're pretty much basically working and working and working. You had friends who take you to parties on a Friday, this, that. Then you realize that you're going in a direction which is not favorable to knowledge acquisition. So what is knowledge? Let's talk about knowledge. Most of the time we go to universities. Universities are supposed to teach us universal education. The universal education, which gives us that knowledge to question the right thing, question who we are, question why we have come to this world. So if the universities are basically producing in a factory setup people for the job industry, or for the IT industry, or this industry or that industry, so that is taking away that onus of asking the right question in our lives. So a true person who has the right education can only recognize, what is right, what is wrong. Srila Prabhupada said in the prior verses in the purports that the right education should prompt us to ask the right question. If the right question is not being asked and we are too much into the mechanical angle of the knowledge, and we keep on churning and churning and churning by getting money and money and money, and by spending too much time into the mundane job, our mind will suddenly become machines, and we can never. So we get into this carrier upliftment strategy in our life, and by virtue of being carrier oriented, we mix with people who take us to meetings, and then meetings becomes a late evening parties, and then eventually it tends to take us in a spiral downward. So that's why Krishna is saying gradually and gradually there is a sinking of the. So this, what Krishna is saying in 16.20 might well apply to us. It may well appear as if we are going in the direction and we have no knowledge of understanding that we are going in a spiral downward trend. And that is exactly when we have to get hold of somebody who can lift us or get the right knowledge to lift us. So beautiful verse when you ponder about this. So, and these kind of people who get carried away with this tendency, which will prompt them to go and increase their demoniac propensities. So Krishna is referring to them as fools, mudha. Krishna is saying by gradually going in the wrong direction again and again, by gradually janmani, 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 constant birth and birth and birth, they never recognize the purpose of the life. And those people, and Krishna is saying, they are mudhas, they are fools, and they can never approach me. So what does this mean? This means that Krishna is saying that if you're constantly going in a cyclical fashion and you're not able to approach me, then you have to think twice about reversing the course of our lives, and and then and then uh, in order to really do a reverse turn, we need to have a association of somebody who can tell us what is right or wrong. Whenever you are in a four-way street and the street is going in four different directions, in order to get to the destination, you ask, where is this 1, 2, 3 main street? How do I get there? And the person in that four-way street tells that you go eastbound and take second left and take first right, you can get to the destination. However, at that point, there are certain personalities who do not know where the 1, 2, 3 main street is, but still they want to use your inability, because you're in a situation, you are confused, you don't know where to go, but they take the benefit of misdirecting you, and then you go around and around and around, and you never get to 1, 2, 3 main street. So it is mentioned, Brahmanda Brahmite Kono Bhagyavan Jiv Guru Krishna Prasade Paye Bhaktilata Bridge. By getting a true association of somebody who can guide you in your destination, by virtue of that person, you get to the Supreme. And by virtue of Supreme's benediction and kripa, you get that person. So you can never get the person. Now that we are all, Gaur Purnima is approaching and we have to take vows to do some certain rounds of chanting and we get certificates. We have to recognize that unless you have the mercy of the Supreme, you cannot get that person. That person can be a Diksha Guru, can be a Shiksha Guru, can be associate, but without Krishna's mercy, you can never get that person. And it's both way. So without Krishna's mercy, you cannot get a guru or someone who can guide you. And without that guide, you cannot get Krishna. So it's a reversible thing. And in order to get Krishna's mercy, you have to go through that, because Krishna is indirectly giving him access through that person. And that's why Krishna is saying, Mam Prapeya Konteya. That means you cannot attain Krishna by but directly you have to go through. And it has been, again and again and again, Krishna wants his devotees to be glorified, and this is coinciding with a verse which Krishna has mentioned before with the modes. Urdham gachanti sattvata. That means a person who is in the mode of goodness, he goes up. Madhyam tinshati rajesha. That means if a person is too much into passion, he'll probably stay where he is. And jaghanya gunavrittista adho ganchanti tamasa. That means if you're mode of tamasic, mode of passion, adho, that means you'll fall down. So Krishna, through the modes, he's basically telling about up, down, staying where you are through this words. So when you do 16.20, it resonates with that understanding which Krishna is saying. By doing good job, you can go up. By doing the passionate activities, you probably will stay where you are. And by doing ignorant things, you will probably fall down. So we should cease to do ignorant things by seeking the true knowledge acquisition, which is exactly resonating with these words, that in order to not fall down, in order to make Krishna prapya, not aprapya, as Krishna is saying, mam aprapya konteya. That means because in order to prapya Krishna, you have to attain Krishna. Prapya means attain. Aprapya means you couldn't attain. By trying to attain Krishna, you have to go through the Guru Sadhu Sastra principle, but you need some intervention by devotees who can pull you down, pull you up. Otherwise, the inertia to go down and down and down in the spiral is very, very important. As we mentioned, during the college days, you might have seen somebody resorting to one bad habits, from one bad habits to another bad habits to another bad habits, and subsequently you get into such hellish state that it becomes jaghanya gunavrittista. Jaghanya means it becomes abominable. It becomes such difficult to come up. So this is an eye opener for all of us, that how we should end up behaving, indulging, and doing our prescribed duties, so that we do not end up going into the demoniac state of gliding down to hell, and we do janmani, attaining repeated birth among demoniac species, and such persons can never approach me, aprapya, and gradually they sink down and they never attain him, and they lead life from the purport. So Prabhupada is saying they lead a life, a very abominable life, and practically there is no chance and there is no hope. It's very, very difficult to really cling on to success when you are not even passing your grades. And so in order, and why is Lord doing it? It's not as if he is not full of mercy. He's full of mercy, but he wants to give you an opportunity with your free will to recognize your mistake. Like exactly like when you do a mistake, your monitor or your teacher may ask you to do a timeout, and during the timeout you go to a different room and you spend some time so that you realize your mistake and you can come back into the main street. And and these are deterrents which are provided by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When you speed, you get a ticket, and when your ticket gets to a situation of 6 points, you start giving surcharges, paying surcharges, and then you realize you should probably slow down. If you get to 12 points in some states, your driving license is taken off. You lose the right to drive on the roads. It should not be considered as your right if you're always clocking 80, 90 miles an hour. So Krishna is saying so beautifully that once you start not listening to the verdict of the scriptures, the Guru and Sadhu and Sastra, you go into a spiral glide and you never come back. And sometimes when these asuras are killed, it is a showering of mercy, that through that they get liberated, because once upon a time they had that desire to be killed. So it's a leela of the Lord, but through the leela, Krishna is giving an example that in order to achieve me, and then these people who indulge in this demoniac propensities, they never achieve me, and they go into Janmani, Janmani over a period of life and life and life, and they still. So as a subsequent trait, as we go towards 16.21, Krishna in 2.1, he is at the end of 16.20. Just I wanted to give a conclusive comment, because Krishna is starting to say that now that the demoniac propensities are explained, let him explain that in order to get to a hellish situation, what are the things you have to do to get to hell. So if you're filled with lusty desires, if you're greed, and you have a lot of anger in yourself, these are some of the traits. In 16.21, Krishna goes on to explain, so that we're going to end the chapter 16, but I just wanted to give a subsequent overview, so that Krishna is explaining that if you have these three things, these are the basic tenets or the gates which lets you get to the hell. And in order for a person, we just mentioned Jaganya, which is very abominable, we have to stay away from lusty desires, we have to stay away from greed, we have to stay away from anger, so that when we are ready to do the final call, we do not get entangled in this Janmani, Janmani, as Krishna is beautifully. So we have to understand what is our goal actually, and there is a lot of misconception in our goal. So whenever we want to become an engineer or a doctor, in terms of material achievement, that goal is very fixed. But the Vedic injunctions are not easily understood, and there are a lot of common misconceptions about the goal. So Krishna in Srimad Bhagavatam, it's mentioned, Akama sarva kamova moksha kama udarati trivena bhakti yogena yajate purusham param. That means of three kinds of people in this world: Akama, a person who doesn't have any desires; Sarvakama, a person who has full desires; and a third kind of person who is desiring liberation. Krishna is saying of these three things, moksha kama is actually, which people think is a good thing in terms of achieving liberation, is actually not recommended. And we'll get into why it is not recommended. And there, Krishna is saying, Tibrena Bhakti Yogena Yajate Purusham Param. That means the person who is Udaradi, that person who is the most intelligent, he indulges in Bhakti Yogena. He doesn't indulge in moksha, because moksha is actually a unfavorable thing, because it gets you to Sayujya Mukti. That means you merge into the body of the Lord. When a person is devoted, he doesn't want to, like if you have, you are a, you are a person who is serving somebody, you really do not want to use your master to prolong your subsequent direction or your subsequent journey. So merging with the body of the Lord is considered very, very unfavorable. And that is where there are five kinds of mukti we have to talk a little bit about. That's why these are the misconception of the goal. Once you know what the goal is, you can get there. So there are four favorable. The akama is good. Having no desires is excellent. Having kama, sarva kama, full of desire is also good, but not mokshakama, because we really do not want to merge with the effulgence of the Lord. So the other four who are not unfavorable is sarupya mukti. Means in the sarupya liberation, you are having a form as the same as the Lord, rupya. And Sarshti Mukti, that means you are achieving opulence equal to those of the Lord, or Samipya Mukti, where you are living as a personal associate of the Lord, or Salokya Mukti, living on a Vaikuntha planet. So these are the four favorable liberation patterns we all should aspire towards. We should not aspire towards this so-called material liberation, and there is a big market where there is a lot of teaching around how to get liberated. I have come to this world, I want to liberate myself. That liberation understanding has to be understood properly, otherwise we are really confusing our uh, our directions which is given by our acharya. So we have to recognize what our goal is, and we have to clear our misconception with the goal. With the if the goal is the misconception are eradicated, then we know clearly how to protect ourselves from these three gates of hell. In order to get somewhere, we have to recognize the direction. We have to be clear about our goal. And once we are clear about our goal, we can eradicate the imperfections in our world. The lusty, greed, and anger are imperfections. But our goal has to be clear before that. Without clearing the goal, these imperfections will be very difficult to be eradicated. Even if we get rid of lust, greed, anger, but you still have the selfish attitude to be merged with the existence of the Lord. So we really want to dissociate these two things. The goal, have a clear understanding about what our goal should be, and so that we achieve the we stay away from our journey, because in order to get to our final journey, we need to get rid of the misconceptions. So a beautiful verse when you think about it. People talk about hellish planet in Srimad Bhagavatam. There are different kinds of hellish punishments which are explained beautifully. We lead our life with the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. As devotees, we relish Srimad Bhagavatam, and if we lead our life based on the scriptural reference of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, we should never have any doubt in our mind, and it will all get cleared gradually over a period of time. So beautiful verse, Asurim Yoni Apanna, Muda Janmani Janmani, Mam Apravaiva Kunteya, Yato Yanti Adhamam Yati. So when we start uttering the words which are spoken by the Lord, we should always try to utter. It's because when you utter the words, because whenever you look at some filmy song and numbers, when you utter it, you get a lot of material benefits from uh, trying to recite the nightingales, or someone from that song. It gives us that material purpose. But when the supreme lords are uttered by us, he uttered it on the battle of Kurukshetra thousands of years ago. But when you utter it in the beginning, and again, we utter it from a very imperfection state. In the first time, we'll be having some verb here and there, but over a period of time, when you utter with the devotees, it gives that soothing things, that whatever was uttered by the Supreme Lord, we in cooperation with of the devotees, we are uttering it, and it gives that element of strength to believe in him, because these are uttered from the lotus mouth of the Lord. And as we dwell more and more on it, we get more philosophical questions. But by virtue of a dialogue within the devotees, we are going to overcome the challenges, the misconceptions, and we have a perfect direction where we want to get. So with that, like to end here, and to open up for some questions, comments, reflections. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Any comments?
Prabhuji, I mean, Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, so that completely describes that hellish planet. Quite scary also, reading through that. And also, few days back, I think few months back, In Hare Krishna channel, there is a Mataji. She was describing about from Garuda Puran also, like those demoniac nature, how their soul being carried out from one place to other, and what pain they go through it. So that is, I mean, that's very dangerous actually. So really means that is something we should all know. But there is when you were sharing the slide, Prabhuji, there was one mention that uh, the demoniac person, he goes down and down and down. Then where exactly Krishna, whether he's enemy to then where when he is friend to others, means when we serve for everyone. So that is something. Can you explain again, Prabhuji?
Definitely. So, so Krishna is well-wisher. He's a friend of everyone. He's the Bija Pradapita. He and Aham Sarvasya Prabhu. Everything comes from him. He's the seed-giving father. How can a father be opposite or antagonist to the kid? It's unthinkable. However cruel you may be, even if Hiranyakashipu was very antagonist to Prahlad Maharaj. But in the beginning, if you see, uh, Hiranyakashipu was having a lot of affection to Prahlad. So the Supreme Father is, so whenever our kids do some mistakes, uh, we give them punishment in the form of time out. You stay in a room and you go through a process of self introspection, and then you overcome. And after, in the school also they do the same thing. And the teachers, who are definitely not our enemies, they give you time out. If you have kids, you'll hear them, and they got a time out on this day because he was not staying on task and all that. So with that, the intent is to really get him back into the system, exactly like we are discussing yesterday evening, that whenever we are in the slowest lane, and if you're driving long distance and you're falling asleep a little bit, your eyes are going down, you get swayed onto the into the shoulder. On the shoulder you see this, this little, you know cuts on the road, and when your car goes on it, it gives you that sound which wakes you up.
Yes,
So
yes,
the 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 modes are really controlling us, and Lord has given us free will. He wants us to introspect, but at the same time, he is not he is interested for the downward spiral to stop. But if we do not have the attitude, even if the Lord tries to save us, it will be a unbaked product. So Lord wants us to take that step so that he can come in 10 steps and take us back to himself. So he's looking for that, he wants us to open our hearts and seek Lord's uh, request, requesting Lord to take us away by showing our hand so that he can come and take it us. So the he's a friend, but he wants us to introspect and self realize and grow so that he can lift us. So all these demoniac personalities, after the killed by the Supreme Personality of God, they were liberated. So in that sense, so there is that element of taking him back to Godhead. So that shows that he is very merciful. But in doing so, Lord is giving us an example that, and some people will have that material argument that, hey, why should I fall in line? And that is exactly where, the false ego is overtaking, and they're not able to understand the right or wrong. And that is the perspective which needs to be highlighted in this discussion. Was that all right, Prabhu? Or anybody
yes,
else?
yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Anybody else wants to add something around 16.20, or have any reflection, comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, Guru Srila
Hey,
Prabhupada.
Krishna.
One point, Prabhuji, it's not mentioned here, but I wanted to clarify as well as voice it out. Uh, so, so at some point of time, is it the Sukruti, Prabhuji, which brings back to the, at least to the neutral level, if not to the negative, right? Is, I think, the Sukruti which is kicked in basically because of whatever we have done through these negative lifetimes. Some Sukruti is basically pushing us back, right? Otherwise, because everybody will be down only.
Yes. So the prarabdha karma or the pious credits you might have done without even your knowledge. There is agyanta sukruti. Agyanta sukruti, you may have done something which has benefited somebody, but you don't know about it. And that is exactly when some people say, I'm not studying, but I'm doing well. So we have to recognize that there is that invisible um, power which is helping you. But at the same time, devotees know that it is the Lord who helps. And the puffed up non-devotees, they think that without doing anything, they have succeeded. And that is because of them, without knowing that Lord's hand is there everywhere to their benefit. And that is exactly the resonating thing. Whenever the tower is there nearby, we get a good signal. And we get the good signal because the tower is nearby. And the understanding is mutual. But that resonance is through a devotee and Lord's relationship. And a person who is a non-devotee can never recognize that Doppler resonance frequency detection, and they will always be puffed up. So this intent of this exercise we're doing, discussing, meditating, is to detect that sync up between that tower and our cell phone so that we stay connected with the Supreme.
It's like a debit card, one way. I mean, even if you don't do anything, so you can enjoy, but once the money is out, it is over.
You're sober. But if you have done some good security, your credit
Yes.
history is good, you may have some overdraft line of credit. And because of that overdraft, you may take something beyond your thing, beyond your balance, but that uh, is not permanent. And so there is definitely said like a debit card, but because of your good credit history, because of your good pious credits, you may have some overdraft line of credit, which will help you to make some transactions. And we have to understand that this is a mercy of the Lord that it is being prolonged. Okay, bro.
So that means somehow, Prabhuji, what otherwise everyone would have stayed at the bottom only, right, Prabhuji? Because of the demoniac one.
Right.
So somehow it kicks in, and for some people, and depending upon what Sukriti they have, in your example, Prabhuji, the overdraft, like how much overdraft? It's a $500 overdraft or $1,000 overdraft. Maybe
Exactly.
that will only push us back, right, Prabhuji? I think.
Yes, exactly.
Like they say, right, Prabhuji, when we wash dishes of the prasad, even like in the drain and the pipe, if the um, some of the like the some living beings eat that also, right, Prabhuji? They survive on that drain.
Yeah,
So that accumulates the unknowingly they eat that it's a prasad, but they eat that, Prabhuji, and they become, means they get the the sukriti kicks in.
exactly.
It's like the same thing, Prabhuji. I think one of the temple, I think Padmanabh Swami temple or somewhere, there used to be one alligator which used to survive with prasadam. So obviously it would have got its liberation or whatever you were mentioning, Prabhuji. So though it was an animal, and similarly that elephant also which passed away, I mean, raising its trunk towards the Lord and dying in front of that. So maybe those are the examples.
Definitely. Definitely. Any other comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
So Prabhuji, I was talking to one of guy. So he had a wrong impression that those who joined ISKCON basically they leave their parents and finally they become brahmachari or sannyasi or whatever. Okay. So he was saying that that is the responsibility of the guy to take care of the parents, but after join ISKCON, I mean they totally forget their family and they. So how to explain in those kind of scenarios?
The wonderful question, actually, is a perfect question you have asked, and there is a beautiful, funny video of Gaur Gopal Prabhu, but I'll just say it because you can't repeat and recreate what he says because he's so powerful. So when a person does job, he leaves the parents, he goes to US, he comes back every 2 years. He doesn't see the parents. That's okay. When the girl leaves the parent to do a job, she doesn't come back for a year. That's okay. The girl gets married for 5, 10, 15 years. He doesn't come back. That's okay. But when the kid tries to reawaken his thinking and tries to recreate the detached relationship he has with the Supreme, how can it be not okay? Having said that, the people who are brahmacharis, they can, in ISKCON, they can go to their parents and live there. But they may not have that kind of income because they choose to. In this world where everybody is trying to run after money, when these people who have got good jobs and when they're leaving and they're trying to search for the truth, why are we opposing it when the person is running out away for money to different countries, Gulf countries, this country, that country, it is considered good. So it is a material way of putting the question so that, and you can check out that video. Gaur Gopal Prabhu has beautifully I'm sorry, it's not Gaur Gopal Prabhu, it's probably Amog Lila Prabhu. I saw this video. So Amog Lila Prabhu is hilarious as well. It's very difficult to recreate him as well. So it is, and he was in IT. He was working in New Jersey. Now he went back. He's now driving the leadership team of the ISKCON Dwarka in New Delhi. So how can that be considered? So this is where the materialistic people, they create that notion about parents. When the parents have not led the life of filled with Vedic injunctions, so they want to create that aura around them that they are supreme. But actually, as Puranas mention, the supreme personality of Godhead is someone who has 6 opulences. So the materialistic people have put in that injunction in the social values that the parents are God, but actually they have not read the Puranas to recognize who God is. God has 6 opulences, and these are the 6 opulences. He is Balavan, Dhanavan, and we talked about it before. So, first, to put parent parent have attributes. Parents are parents should always be taken care of. But what happens is when the parents are not conscious, when the parents are not Krishna conscious, how does a Krishna conscious kid behave with them? So those are some of the questions. So if the parents are resorting to non-Krishna conscious practices, should the kids leave Krishna consciousness and follow a path which is not regulated? So those are some fundamental questions, and that is exactly why this transcendental knowledge is going to help us recognize what is truth and what is knowledge. And these knowledge are not taught in universities nowadays, because universities have become factories to provide workers for the big companies. So because that fundamental definition is compromised, there is that inherent confusion. Did that answer your question or touch on some aspects of your question?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, same, I have 2 points in the same line. First of all, Prabhuji, Krishna clearly tells that he takes care of the 21 generations before and after Prabhuji. So I want to know the facts who told this. Means not you, Prabhuji, I'm asking whoever spoke that if you have dedicated for the service of Krishna consciousness, Prabhuji, I'm pretty sure the parents are taken care of by Krishna, Prabhuji. No, there is no doubt in that, because Krishna himself tells that he takes 21 generations before and after, right? So in this generation itself, he will definitely take care, Prabhuji. And two, as Prabhuji has mentioned, Among Leela Prabhu's, there is a video called Among Leela Prabhu Gaye Chale Apne Ghar. See that, Prabhuji, in which he goes and asks his parents that, do you have any issue with me going to, doing service of the ISKCON and that? And then they tell, no, this is the best service we can. And so see that video, Prabhuji. We will get to know that it's most virtuous to do that, Prabhuji, to serve and become a brahmachari and serve the ISKCON yatra. So those who are speaking like that, Prabhuji, we have to ask them facts that can you show where that the parents were suffering because the son, the daughter, mostly sons, they may not be bringing Lakshmi into the home, but Krishna takes care of. They are well taken care of, Prabhuji. I like to know those, because this defeats then this proves that Krishna, what is told in Bhagavad Gita of the 21 generations, Prabhuji. So okay, at a material level, you may feel that their parents are not being taken care of, moral support may not be there because of your physical presence being absent, but internally Krishna will provide them some soothing and that, Prabhuji. That's the perspective I have on this question, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji. So actually, in my family, like they are not Krishna consciousness, and whenever I want to, take a step forward.
Mhm.
So sometimes they will, they will put me into this kind of, condition, family. They put me into family. Okay. So that time actually I confused. So which one I should give importance, right? So there actually I'm not able to decide like what's my goal and how do I, uh, go forward, right? So every time I will be kind of, putting for like they will put me into the family condition. They will try to pull me back. Okay. So whenever I try to, so there actually I'm not able to decide like how to go forward.
Yeah. So, Prabhu, if I may, so in ISKCON also there is a standard. If you have a wife and kids, ISKCON is also not going to give you brahmachari. ISKCON is not going to take you as a sannyasi. This is because ISKCON also has, because in Krishna consciousness, if you have a family with wife and kid, you have to take care of them. But if you do not have a wife and kid and you have tremendous interest to live in a temple atmosphere and serve, then the yardsticks are different. So, knowing you, Prabhu, there are high standards in ISKCON as well. So, I just want to say that the people who are in ISKCON, in the sannyasi waiting list, the brahmachari waiting list, there is a lot of demand. So, uh, so ISKCON is also not saying, come become our brahmacharis. It is a very deep connection, and you do not have to become a brahmachari to serve a, the Lord and lead a Krishna conscious life. Jare dekho, tare kaho, Krishna upadesh. That means you can be in the jungle, you can be in your grihastha life, and you can lead a very transcendental life. So if that helps, Prabhu.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Yes, thanks.
Any other comments?
You cannot go wrong, Prabhuji. That's what I'm telling. Even if you're doing Krishna consciousness, um, initially it may, like as Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, initially it may, whatever is in the beginning, it is little difficult, but in the end it turns out to be very fruitful, Prabhuji. He says with respect to, in the, it may look like a poison in the beginning, but later it will turn out into very fruitful. So family is, Prabhupada many times told Prabhuji, right? Family, and my Guru Maharaj also many times told that treat your family, your house is your temple, and your family are Vaishnavas. So you are serving Vaishnavas only. So never, even if suppose our parents do not follow ISKCON, um, but if we pray for them also, that is more than enough. We may not physically be there and do whatever they prefer to do because we have other priorities. But it will eventually it will be fruitful, Prabhuji, because the what he does is that Prabhuji Krishna goes, because he's a super soul in everyone, he transforms them through your sadhana, Prabhuji. Your sadhana goes and transforms their hearts. Even if they're not chanting, or even if they're not, automatically it will be effective, Prabhuji, because universal principle, Krishna is in everyone's heart, right? So you don't have to be anytime guilty that you, by becoming Krishna, you may lose familial relationships, nothing like that, Prabhuji. In fact, I will say at some point of time, they will become more stronger. Initially, it is apparent, it may appear like that.
But but Prabhuji, what is saying is also a common tenet where there are the emotional
People.
pressures
Mhm.
which will give and actually Prabhu, there are impediments everywhere. But I hear you, Prabhu. I hear both sides in the sense there are you can't go wrong eventually, but there are impediments. Srila Prabhupada also faced a lot of impediments from his family. So you are not alone.
That is characteristic of Kali Yuga, Prabhuji.
That
You
is
will face
characteristic of Kali
impediments.
Yuga.
Kali
So
Yuga,
what
you
you're
will-
saying is right, yeah.
And two, Prabhuji, the analogy which I say is that when you are merging onto a highway, Prabhuji, you merge slowly, Prabhu. You don't merge at the breakneck speed of where the flow is, right? So
Right, right.
we have to maneuver, Prabhuji. That's all.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I may not show them that I'm spending 2 hours, 3 hours in Krishna consciousness for my personal upliftment. We will serve them, and whenever we have time, we will continue our practice of Krishna consciousness. So we'll merge slowly, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So give your time.
Yeah.
Slow down a little bit. And after repeated this thing, if things doesn't improve, then a counselor might help. There are wonderful personalities who are regional counselors, and they will definitely help you. Okay.
Sure, Prabhuji, nicely explained. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhu. Any other comments? Rohit Prabhu, Anuradha Mataji.
Wonderful class, Prabhu. Somehow I'm managing and listening, but today it was really enlightening again. So thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you to everyone who gave, meaningful comments out here. So thank you so much.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah.
So let's end here by glorifying the Vaishnavas at their lotus feet. If there is no other questions, we'll have our next class, and on the 6th of March, it's a Monday, we have the most auspicious appearance of Sriman Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is none other than Krishna, Sri Radha Krishna, Sri Chaitanya, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahi Anya. So there is big events. These are times when you take vows. If you're doing 4, you want to chant 8 rounds. If you are doing 8, 12 rounds. So if you're taking vows of chanting and reinforcing your vows, that's the time we do it. So if you want to take vows, please let us know. If in our Bhakti Vriksha anybody wants to take vows, you can renew your vows in front of Mahaprabhu on the Lordships, Radha Samsundar Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Gaur Nitai on the 6th of March. So take a moment to introspect and lift your devotional prowess by taking vows, and let us know through separate messaging. And with that, we'd like to end here. If anybody wants to add anything, let me know or interject. Otherwise, Vanchakalpataruvescha kripa sindhu vaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namo Vaishnava vrinda ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari.
Jagannath Prabhu ki jai.